and I'm here today with our favorite Sheriff Chuck Edge. How are you?
Doing fine, ma'am.
I'm good. I was trying to make you smile. Do you want to tell that joke, or do you want me to tell it for you?
I don't know if it's a joke or not. It's just 30 some odd years in law enforcement. I started in 1982, and I never thought I'd see the day you can go into a bank with a mask on and ask for money. It's just
there you go. Things are upside down.
It's a different time. It is a different time.
Well, you're doing a great job. So tell me a little bit. We're going to talk today about the Ferris golf course, and the whole thing was a situation about all the golf courses that were. They couldn't decide whether they should be open or closed, whether they were essential or not essential. So what happened? I think basically you guys got called out there for some reason.
Well, I'm still not sure what the final ending is, and it's just an example of how fluid this situation is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we talk about the numbers. Last week we were at 60-something. Now we're at 80-something. It could be more than that by the time we get to by the time this airs.
Right.
But the whole thing just changes, and they did put out, go to the golf courses, go to the city parks, go to the recreation areas, go to the state parks, go fishing.
Mm-hmm.
And then wasn't a week later, then the governor came out with, we're closing the state parks, we're closing the state lakes.
Right.
Then the city started closing the golf courses. So then we got maybe they could be open, and then they came out and started closing the golf courses. Well, then over the weekend, the Attorney General's office put out a guidance letter saying that as long as they're doing the CDC recommended distancing and everything, that the golf courses should be open. So right now we don't know exactly the final status of the Ferris golf course.
Okay.
I did check with the county judge, and I checked with the emergency management coordinator, and then they said that the city of Ferris, since that's where the golf course actually is.
Right, the old brickyard golf course.
They actually have a copy of the Attorney General's guidance letter, and their attorney's reviewing it, and I guess we'll find out. We didn't know today. We noticed today that the city of Waxahachie had people out there playing on their golf course.
Were they social distancing?
Probably so.
You're not going to answer
didn't see that.
Okay.
But I think the brickyard golf course could be open with the way they're doing their social distancing.
Okay.
And the judge, that was his opinion.
Okay.
But it's actually in the city, so we'll let the city determine that.
Right, right. And that's one of the things I think that people get confused about, as always, is that the county is not the city. You guys are not making calls to Waxahachie, right? You're making calls, or to Ferris. You're supposed to be making calls to the county.
We will
just keep that in mind, everybody.
We will assist any one of the cities.
Right.
Always. We've always been able to and open to. But we're not going to come in and take over your city.
Right.
So it's if the city wants to enforce that law, if the city wants to close, then it's in the city.
Okay.
And we're not going to come in and enforce laws within your city, which we can. I mean, we've got countywide jurisdiction.
Right.
But we've got our own things that we have to handle.
Right.
Like
287 cows that are out on the road right now.
We got about 30 head of cattle we're trying to find right now.
Are they social distancing? That's going to be fun after you leave here, huh?
Yeah.
So it sounds like that you can go play golf, or as long as you're social distancing, the restaurants are open, because they have restaurants at the golf courses, and that would be takeout or delivery.
Correct.
And
they
that's
can't
just
sit inside
another
the clubhouse and eat it. That's correct.
Okay. So it's just another way of staying busy and active while we're in lockdown, which we
right, and allowing those people to
to
actually make their living and have their income.
Okay.
We're in a state of lockdown, and that word gets used. Whether it's lockdown, whether it's a shelter in place. In the emergency world, shelter in place has a definite definition, and this isn't quite it. But
what is the shelter in place definition then?
Tornadoes come in shelter in place.
Oh, okay.
I mean, there are specific areas where that terminology is actually used.
So that actually got totally used wrong in the very beginning.
Well, I mean, it's the intent, I guess, is actually there. And one thing that I did want to mention is, whether you have an opinion that it's a government overreach or whether you think everything is fine. Mm-hmm. I'm not getting into that.
Right.
But what I want to say to the citizens and visitors of Ellis County is we appreciate that you are doing the social distancing, that you are staying inside. It is helping the situation, whether you believe you should have been told to or whether you believe you shouldn't. We appreciate you doing it. We appreciate the the things that people are doing to keep themselves safe and keep their families safe.
Right.
And abiding by it. We have, at the sheriff's office, we haven't issued a single citation for violation
Wow,
of
that's great.
this. We haven't arrested anybody for this. We haven't seen the increase in domestic violence yet that some of the neighboring
I was
counties
going
and
to ask you
cities are
about
seeing.
that. Yeah.
We have seen a rise in some of our criminal offenses,
Okay.
those that we would normally see in the summer when the kids are out of school, and folks are starting to go on vacation. So, normally at the end of school we see some burglary of motor vehicles,
Right.
we see some stuff missing from your front yard, or criminal mischiefs.
Okay.
So, be mindful of that and go ahead and take care of your personal possessions, lock them up. Be mindful
Right.
that part of the offenses we are seeing, but we're not seeing the increase in domestic violence, and we just appreciate everybody's help and support during this different and difficult time.
Right. I know that Judge Little's office had mentioned that there had been some calls that he got for domestic abuse, so it's not making it to the sheriff's office.
No, and
Okay. So
that's it. I don't know why the county judge would get the calls for domestic violence and we wouldn't.
I know, right?
But we haven't seen the increase
okay.
yet, and and the numbers are. It's easy enough for us to.
Yeah, you guys can look at it.
Follow and look at what kind of calls we're getting.
Okay, we were talking earlier before the show about baby boom in 9 months and divorces in 15. Maybe
There's
You
all
didn't say
kind of
that.
jokes and all kind of stories that are going on, and we're waiting to see what happens at the end of all of this, and 9 months after everybody got locked up, if you will.
I know one thing I've learned: if I was going to have a death sentence or spend the rest of my life in jail, I think I'm going to go for the death sentence. I
Well,
can't
I'm
do
not.
the. I couldn't. It's too hard. And I think people overall I feel like people want to socialize. It's something.
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
I think that's our society. I mean, that's
Right.
the way we are.
Yes.
A couple of things. This thing is so fluid, and the numbers often get changed. By the end of the day.
Right. Right.
And there's so much that's out there that's about the doom and the gloom, and I just like to point out a couple of things.
Okay.
In the state of Texas, we still have a 98% survivability rate from COVID-19.
Oh wow, that's great.
So I'd like to get that information out there.
Okay.
Across the nation, it's about a 95% survivability rate.
Okay.
In Texas, we're seeing 10% positive returns on testing.
Okay.
So as we've seen the number of cases increase, well, we're increasing the number of tests we're doing as tests become available.
Okay.
And right now, we've been tracking at about a 10% positive rate. So once that trend breaks, then we'll start to see that plateau that they're talking about.
Okay.
But the more testing we do, then of course the more cases we're going to see.
Right.
And out of the 87 total cases we have, there's been 3 deaths.
Okay.
But there's been 12 recoveries. We don't talk about that
Right,
side of it as
exactly.
often as we should.
Exactly.
So, nobody denies that COVID-19's out there. Nobody denies that it's killing people.
Right.
But we often lose sight of the good things that, if there is any good points that you can bring out in a situation like this,
Right.
is that some of the numbers are on the good side as well, and they don't always get put out.
Right, that's a very good point. There's a lot of, you guys are doing a great job, and people are really realizing how much they need each other. So we're going to have to wrap this up. One good thing I can say is that you and I became friends, sort of.
Yes, ma'am.
So maybe, by the time this is all over, we'll be best friends.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for coming again. I know everybody loves you. I'm Rita Cook. This is Sheriff Chuck Edge with Politics and How It Affects You.
Thank you.
Thanks.